You nearly went into song there, I'm sure.
I did. I can't help myself sometimes.
Anyway, well, enough of that. If anybody's ever heard Emma sing, you'll know that it's not one of her many talents. But she has many. However, singing is definitely not one of them. Now, in with Igor Bristolin as he makes his way in this bunch, still holding at the front. You can see one or two people when they get to the back of this group, just struggling to get the rhythm right, struggling to get the reattachment back on again. When you come off the front, you start dropping back. There is a temptation to ease off the pedals too much. And when you ease out the pedals too much, you drop back through the group and you will drop out of the back of the group. Knowing when to re-engage takes time and practice. That's why it's so important to jump on and ride regularly in the groups. And that is one of those skills that you learn, like any discipline. In cycling, there are skills to learn and techniques to use. Now, as we come into the sprint, technique is critical. Come from the back of the group to the front. You don't want to be moving your way through that group until you hit the start. You want to hit the start at the back of the group. You want to finish at the front. Key to this skill is knowing your timing. JD Abello leads them in over the top through the sprint there. He was the first rider through and over the line. Don't think he's the first rider in terms of speed through the segment.
Well, there we go. And the Category 3 riders down in the start pen are awaiting the go.
They are indeed. So, Category 3 riders today. We've got our teams now. Team captains, Goodall, captain in the Alliance squad, the Otero Alliance Level NSA, captain by Mercedes. The Level Racing squad, joint leaders, Golden Boy himself, Rimborg, with Solly as well. The Ride Club Finland with Peak, Take That with Ridley, and the What's Up with Walter Clays. They're the team captains. Watch out for Hassan Al-Remethri as well in this pack of riders. A rider who we know could well be suited to this course. Will we see him at the front? Will it be one of our team captains for the racing teams that we just listed? It's time to find out. Only just a little bit smaller race field in terms of entries in Category 3 from Category 4, but the riders up and away. So, 2/3 of our race field starts done and dusted. Interesting to see Ross Solly in here, Daniel Tidholm, taking to start. Ivor sure could be a rider to watch today on here. Andrew Diduch also, another rider who goes strongly on courses like this. Be very interested to see how he goes. Watch out for the segments as well. I think the further through the race field we go, the more we'll see the strong overall riders also being up there in terms of the sprints and particularly the climbs. So the climbs tend to be our overall riders, particularly on a course like this. Sprints give the opportunity. Will we see somebody like Eric Rimborg maybe look to hit out early today? Could be the case. I know he has had a Pogacar-style breakfast.
Well, there we go.
Ready to go.
Breakfast of Kings. That's what's required. But this is a loaded category, Category 3, 53 riders. Angarita is in here, Guerra is in here, Spratt, Squilari, Orego, Kansara, Kochikov is in here, Karlstrom is in here, Kirchner is in here. In fact, anybody with a surname beginning with K, I think, could well be on the top step today. But it's going to be really, really competitive. And the push is already on at the front. The pack is stretched down the road. David Goodall is also in here. But it's Carlos Ramirez who's doing the hard work on the front. And Adam Stedman, or Stenman, should I say, is the rider closing him down. Marvin Angarita there also on the front, just watching what's going on. So is Kirsnowski. And Gudzari is there too. This is a field of talent. Well, just dropping back into that Aldar HQ sprint, Matt, it was Panu Alalusa in Category 4 who took the fastest time through that segment.
Okay, brilliant.
Well, take a look at that. Nicholas Hagland giving us a wave. And he's right in the middle of that pack and needing that concentration on his face to stay in that group. The couple of riders off the front, the pack not responding at the moment as they head through that Ferrari showroom. Hagland, he's a strong rider too.
Now, you want a prediction? You were asking me for one earlier on, saying I'll put one in. Well, I am going to put a prediction in. That is that Nicholas Hagland will not go for the sprints, but he will go for the overall, which means he'll be right up there in terms of the climb segments. But I don't think we're going to see him go for the sprints. I think we're going to see him go for the overall. There you go.
Oh.
I would predict he's a top 10 today.
Well, there we go. Matt's made a prediction. Raya Duma in the mix as well. He's up and out the saddle in real life, just sitting back down into camera shot, part and parcel of the group that is stretched down the road already. They're coming in towards the roundabout that will lead them into the first sprint, the Aldar H Crew sprint. And the paces on the front of this group already. Peponen is here, Tidholm, Sir Velez, Brooke, Ridley. And riders who want to target this sprint now, really thinking about positioning in the group.
Positioning is key.
It
I'm not
is.
sure I would want to be off the front. I think that's a really bad move, certainly in terms of the sprint. Maybe good for an attack, or maybe not wanting to respond to this big kick that could come.
Oh, I'm just in 14 watts per kilo.
Exactly now. Big kick from Kalman, moving his way up through this group. You've got to move from the back to the front. You've got to use the draft. You've got to be good at responding to that, to use a fast rider. A lot of very fast riders going through. Will we see an attack over the top? Because if I was in this group, given the volume of riders, I wouldn't have gone at the front of that group. I would have rolled with the fast riders and then put in a second kick here. And you can just see the front of the group easing off here. But now's the time, as this group have all put in a big effort. If you've not gone to your limit, you can really make them hurt by attacking.
Well, can I just tell you, Andre Diduch came through with the fastest time until the back of the group came through, and Patrick Karlstrom has set the fastest time through the segment in category 3, just beating Andre Diduch to the top spot in the first sprint today in category 3. I'll tell you what I am loving,
Go on.
and if there are any numbers, I wasn't going to use the phrase geek, but I'm going to use if there are any number geeks and people who really like to look at numbers versus technique, head over to the mywish.com results page, because the live results and the results of each of the sprints are there, and it really is absolutely evident and clear that positioning in the group is what gives you the fastest time, not your ultimate power. Diduch, 14.7 watts per kilo. Patrick Karlstrom on our screen at the moment. Kudos to Karlstrom, 13.2 watts per kilo average through the sprint, taking a faster time than Diduch. That was about positioning. Nicholas Spratt, 12.5 watts per kilo, puts him in third. That was also about positioning in the group, because in fourth place, Marvin Angarita, 14.4 watts per kilo for fourth place. Where you are in that pack when you launch your sprint is crucial.
Absolutely key, and making sure that you get rewarded for that is the increased price, as we just said earlier on. The details of that all in the roadbook. Now, Nathan Guerra down the road here. He is currently on the attack. He's gone out for a long one here. Nathan decided to go for a long-range attack. Always an interesting move. He's going to be putting in the effort. 11 seconds clear at the moment. Will he be able to hold on to that gap? Really winding up at the moment. A very early kickoff from Guerra. It is a course that where would you need to get to solo? Do you think if you get over the top of the aquarium climb with like 35 seconds, that's enough?
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes.
Wow. I'm not sure. I think you need a minute.
Hold a minute. I think it depends what race category you're in.
In this category.
And
in category 3.
Oh, I think category 3 could go clear. And the reason I say it depends which category you're in is because for me, this course is about the race fields coming behind and making the catch. And at what point do they make the catch, or do they at all make the catch? If you go clear and none of the race fields catch you behind or catch your competitors behind and give them the draft, then I think you stand a chance of making it to the line. And Ramirez Cardona on our screen at the moment, part and parcel of the pack. Great mural on the wall, or is that a big picture?
It's a mural, not a mural. Muriel's a person.
Well, mural. And they are, and I think you're distracting me from my train of thought.
Sorry, I was being a bit pedant.
But I do think this course, because of the continually rolling nature of it, does lend itself to someone staying away. We saw it I'm not giving any spoilers, but we did see that happen in category 2 in the women's race.
make sure you watch the women's race back if you haven't seen it already. We are going out on one stream on the MyWish YouTube channel today rather than two. So if you are joining us now, just jumping on board thinking, hang on a minute, there's usually a men's and there's a women's separately. It's all as one because of the overlapping potential of the races from one to another, dependent on the race route and the race course. We'll try and bring you as much action from every single one of our categories 1 to 6, in both the men's and the women's races, as always. And remember, of course, that is practically impossible to cover absolutely everybody all of the time.
Well,
on the way through, we will do our best, but
can I just say this is a great move off the front of this Category 3 race?
Yes.
Because this Category 3 group, looking at it, they're 5.9 kilometres into this 50.5 kilometre race. They are not interested in chasing.
I wouldn't. I would not chase.
But it's like out of sight, out of mind.
No, you know that there's one rider down the road. You know that they're there. If you think at some point you're going to have to chase, for me, the key thing is what's the time gap when you get to the top of the climb? If there's a time gap at the top of the climb, I mean that in itself would be amazing. However, we'll have to see. Now, time to move from Category 3 to Category 2. The 10 minutes have elapsed since the Category 3 went away. Now, the Abu Dhabi team, Winfield and Nuki, up against the Smarty squad of Bankson Theme, Ritter and Volta. We have the Hitmen represented by Simmons and Fawcett, the UAE Falcons, Altanaji and Hamden here, and of course the UAE clan team, Mr. X100, Pablo Popovic and SS, taking to the start today. Big field of riders, almost our biggest race field here. A very strong race field. Having teammates in Category 2 is really, really helpful. And the reason for that is that Category 2 has traditionally been one of the most ferocious categories to be fighting in. We'll see if that's the case. We're in with SS as we head out from the pen. Our penultimate race start on qualifier race number 1 in our men's race. It is the Category 2 race start. Our riders up and away. Big bunch of riders here. And at the moment, you've got to be really kicking down strongly to stay with them. Fast start here today. Now, I'm seeing 5, 6, 7 watts per kilo coming out of these riders. That means that they are really, really twitchy today.
Oh, they want to get up to pace, and they want to get up to pace quickly, and they want to roll. Ross Fawcett in here, and brilliant racing last week from Fawcett. Rolled SS on the line on the Jebel Hafi. Absolutely commitment to task. Really, really strong racing. But I tell you something, the competition here. So 59 riders in Category 2. Starzinski is here, Downey is here, Quintero, Ospina, Montoya, Bendetti, Nitko, Gombert, McCarroll, Bjorkland, Krasnich, Brune, Bjarhead, Betty is here, Mendakowitz, Buster, Trojanowski, Van He, Elalami, Alcase, Von Harem, Millerstick, that's Peter, Graves, Carradine, Havo, Alan Jung, all riders we've seen historically on the Sunday Race Club race strongly.
I can add a few to those as well. I'm not disagreeing with the choice. I just think you can't discount one or two other riders. I mean, we've got Ross Fawcett on your screen. He's definitely a rider to watch.
Now, can I tell you, Ross Fawcett has gone to watch some cyclocross on the continent. Ross Fawcett, rider from Great Britain. He's with Olivier Simmons. He's gone to stay with his teammate whilst watching the cyclocross and is racing the Sunday Race Club in the same room.
Well, I will look out for him because I know there's been a lot of cyclocross on. If you want to catch up with the cyclocross, the next race actually is this afternoon. That is the World Cup from Dendermonde in Belgium. And in Belgium, for that, if you are in an area that doesn't have the coverage license to a particular broadcaster, you can catch up with the YouTube channel. You find me on there covering that on the English language feed for the UCI.
Do you know what I love the idea of?
And hopefully he's going to be watching in person at the side, which is always great to see.
You just need to keep an eye out now because he could well be, or they could well be, at the side of the track of the cyclocross this afternoon after having raced the Sunday Race Club in Europe this morning. Well, X100 here in the pack doing some business at the moment because Camille Dainies is the rider who's pushed on the front of the group, and X100 and Marcin Trosjanowski are the two riders closing the gap down. Mikkel Schuren is on the front of the pack, but the pack are 4 seconds back. Zach Patterson is there as well as Matthias Vanhe. Joselle Betty is there as well. The riders all now trying to come together because Betty's kicked to 8 watts per kilo to close the gap. They want this gap closed. They do not want anybody away from the leading group.
They don't. And I think this is one of the things that we're going to see. Betty closing down, Van He closing down. There's always somebody prepared to have a go. There's always somebody prepared to close down. And whilst we've seen a solo attack off the front of Category 3, I think it's just so much harder to do in Category 2 because people will not let anyone go. They're all just that bit closer. And I think Category 2 traditionally has always been very close. I don't think that has changed because we've gone to 6 categories. I think this is one of our closest race categories. We're coming in here to the Aldar HQ sprint, the very first sprint of the day here today for Category 2 and all of our race categories.
Bjarhead's gone.
Look at this. Bjarhead has gone in the leading group. The problem he's got is there's a huge group behind. And if you come from the back to front, he's going to be solo. Look.
But he's worked his way right the way through that group. That's going to be a good time.
It'll be a good time. Will it be enough? The rest of the group comes through behind. Bjarhead goes through. He had the fastest time. He doesn't have the fastest time because a rider coming through behind him took it, and that is going to be Olivier Simmons.
It is indeed. Olivier Simmons does indeed take the fastest time, and Marcin Wozniak into Tour Allenging in 3.
So they've just made the way through in Category 2. Category 1, though, are about to lead the start against the Abus Esports squad. Jesper Paradines, Ruben Don, Stefan Van Elsa up against the Alpha Jaw squad. Daniel Chirek, Lionel Vajassin, Michael Kaminski, and Ollie Jones. The Boss Moves Only squad of Jason Osborne, Michael Knudsen. 2 riders. They're going to be battling it out against the Farm Watch squad of Bjorn Andreasen, Hayden Pucker, Johan Noren, and Mikael Plantero. And do not discount the Wenger boys, Arnie Jacobs, Kel Power, and Ricardo Panizza. They're about to go. It's time to go racing in Category 1. It's our qualifier race 1. It's January in 2025. The bigger, the brighter, the bolder. More bang, more bucks. It is the Sunday Race Club.
It is indeed, and we're in with Yasin at the moment, part and parcel of the 32-man rider race field that is Category 1. You can see him there, resplendent in that Alpha Jaw jersey. Bruce Bird, Daniel Turek, Mikel Plantro, Stuart Miller in the mix, Linda Millerstick. Now, for Category 1, 425 metres of climbing across the 50.5-kilometre course. I think this is going to be a really close racing. Jason Osborne, the world champion, is in the mix. Stefan Van Elster, Arnie Jacobs, Syed Safradine, Leonard Tugels, who's been doing some phenomenal racing on the Sunday Race Club. He's really, really taken it by the scruff of the neck and is showing the riders what he can do.
That was the name that came to mind when the start sheets came through. I was looking at it thinking, 1, massive race field in Category 1. 2, Leonard Tugels. Could well be his day today. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what can he do with this pack of riders. Where is it going to go? The big problem for everybody is that Jason Osborne, the world champion, is here. Now, will Osborne be on full race form? The form that he had, the racing that he did to get himself into the Rainbow Jersey. It's his 2nd World Championship title. He took the very first. He's taken this one. He's absolutely flying. Will he be the man to beat? Michael Vink's been going well.
I mean, Michael Vink and Jason Osborne, Osborne was in 1, Vink in 2, Tugels, Knudsen and Safrazadi. That was the top 5 on the Jebel Hefi last week, which was the finale to 2024. But the start of 2025 is different. It's longer. It's a lot flatter. And I think we are going to see some very well-matched riding and racing and some smart riding and racing today. It's also going to be interesting to see what the sprint and the climb competition does to the Category 1 race field and who targets what in this race today. But I think we could well see riders utilising the draft a lot more today and staying in packs and groups on the road. It's going to be, well... That's going to be a good race.
It is indeed. Now, Category 1. underway. They are making the way. They are the last starters, the leaders in category 1 at 1.7k. Already 20 kilometers plus
Yeah, I know.
into the race route. Go category 6. Category 6 setting off 30 minutes in front of category 1. Now they're at 20.3k, which means that they are not that far away, only less than 2k from the base of the aquarium climb.
That's about 11 riders in that group.
Still a big squad of riders in there, big group of riders coming into that climb. It should separate on the climb. We'll have to find out now. In with Thomas Thrall, a man whose sprint is phenomenal. He is regarded as one of the best sprinters out there. He's taken some great rides, some great sprints. Did he not take the victory in round number 1 of the Echelon Racing League, if I
Number
remember?
2.
Number 2, sorry. Number 1 was Pucker going off. Number 2 was Thrall in that sprint. A rider I would not want to take to the finish, but given that he's a good sprinter, you can make his legs hurt on that climb, I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure you can. And he was indeed in that echelon race yesterday. And so were a number of these riders, but a number of them weren't. It's going to be interesting to see whether there are any tired legs or whether it was just a nice little opener for them. And I tell you what's opening up at the moment. And Ruben Dont just getting caught out, I think, with a shoe. I think he was just tightening up his shoe there before he went for the sprint. But it puts him at the back of the pack. And it's perfect positioning for Ruben Dont. So Ruben Dont unleashing the power that only Dont can in this sprint number 1, working his way through the pack in category 1. This has got to be the fastest time in the category 1 race. It's going to be really interesting to see, but he's got to be up there. Oh, no, he's not. Jasper Paradians from the Abus Esports squad, his teammate, takes top spot. 15.3 watts per kilo. Paradians 1,084 watts, 11.8 seconds. Wow.
Great racing, great riding, great sprinting. Paradians take that. Interesting the way that Simmons' time is up there, but we got to remember, and it's a point that you made really well, Emma, on the women's show, the size of the pack and the way the racing is playing out coming in is a really, really key to how that ride goes and how that sprint is run and how that racing is run. Now, Ruben Dont at the moment just trying to get himself back onto the pack. He's at the back. He put in that big kick, but he's really got to recover. He's got to get those legs. He's got to get the lactic out in the legs. You cannot put in a performance like that without your legs stinging.
Well, I also think, and we saw in the shot there, that he was just adjusting his shoe. I think he got up out of the saddle to sprint and realised his shoes weren't tight enough, and he had to reach down and tighten it up before he went again. And I think that impeded his sprint. So phenomenal work from Ruben Dont, but just getting himself sorted and into the pack in category 1. Category 2, the race field on your screen at 7.6 kilometres, and category 5 on the bottom left at 22.1. Category 6 here as well, and this is interesting. So this is the leading group in category 6. They were the first riders out of the pen. They are on the aquarium climb, and around 11 riders at last count in this leading group. So Kennett, Dadson, Botero, Kutab, Quadrelli, Kearney, Riley Millistick is in here, Jarvinen is in here as well as Lavsno, the rider who has been taking the sprints in category 6, also part and parcel of this front group. As the stretch comes on here, stretch on the front of the group going into the climb. Now, interestingly, there is indeed the climb competition as well, and tactics come into play as well, because if you're at the back of the group of 11, and you finish at the front of the group 11, just by passing the other 11 riders, you have a quicker time. So technique and tactics come into play in the sprint and the King of the Mountains competition today. Kennett is the rider at the front here, pushing on. Enrico Quadrelli doing great work. Now, Christoph Labno, the rider in the green skin suit, currently leading the sprint competition, is the rider who we have just seen go from the back of the group to the front of the group, giving himself that little bit of extra microseconds to gain in the climbing competition, and he's right up on the back wheel of the leading 2 in that category. It's going to be interesting to see whether that pays off later.
And that's tactic that works across all of our race categories, category 6 right through to 1. Go into the segment sitting at the back of the lead group, move up to the front as soon as you can, and then stay with the leaders. Really key. You need to watch the gaps though, and that's critical because you can see here it's really well illustrated. If the gap opens up, if you're on the wrong side of it, it might not be you who loses the wheel in front. It might not be you who loses the draft. However, once it's gone, you're in trouble and you've got to get back in touch. Category 2 at 9.1k on this climb out. This is the big riser that takes you out and away. There's a one sort of real
Yeah.
big dipper. You drop down and then you rise back up again before we come in towards the Abu Dhabi Bridge. There is a little bump on the way through, and you can see that top right hand side of your screen because you can see on that course profile that white line runs from right to left. It's moving across. The yellow vertical bar indicates the position of the rider. We've just gone over the big climb. The course steadily moving across there. The rider's moving through towards this little riser that will take them up and over. Once they've done that, they're going to be into the Abu Dhabi Bridge Sprint. Going to be really critical to see who is in the leading group.
Well, interestingly, it's X100 off the back of the group. I was just looking at that bottom left-hand shot thinking, oh, one of the riders has just been distanced off the group, and X100 is 9 seconds back. And that dig on the front of the group really done some damage. Peter Milostic, Quintero, Nuki, Mendakowicz. We can see Ivan Nuki on the bike on the screen. Great climber. Really good work on the Jebel feet last week in Category 2. But Barrow is there, Trojanowski is there, Dawn is there, all in this group and all tightly packed together. And I think two riders off the back of the group are going to make contact.
They're just going to make contact as another kick comes on the front, though, as we go up onto this. This is a little riser. Vanny here kicking down hard. They know the danger of letting riders of the caliber of Mr. X100 back into the group, and that is going to do damage at the back. I think this kick, though, looks like it's not separated Matthias Vanny. Morning, Matthias. I think it's still morning just about where you are as you go up over the bridge. Remember, riders out and round the globe racing here. Vanny, definitely a strong rider. Another of the Belgian contingent, interestingly, rider who rides strong on the Belgian courses. But this also could be a course that suits him. If he can get over the group, which he should do, over the Aquarium climb and the Liwa Desert climb, the roller coaster run to the finish is really going to suit his riding style. Going to be really critical. Now, leading group SS tucked in here, Nuki in here that we saw on their tapping out the rhythm, Bendetti in here, Barra, Quintero, Brune in here. Really interesting to see Thompson in the mix as well. Santo is in here, Trojanowski. Big pack in Category 2. Category 1 not split up yet, but just seeing a kick off the front here. Mikel Plantero just opening, stretching his legs. 5.7 watts per kilo. Osborne responding here.
Plantero for me is going to be an interesting rider today because there's not a huge amount of climbing, and he often goes well on the flatter style courses. Van Elst is in here as well. Vyasin Kaminsky. Osborne is the rider closing down the push from Plantero. Those rainbow bands on the jersey doing the business.
I think Jason Osborne there, I'm not sure whether he necessarily wanted to close down Plantero or just take advantage of maybe somebody making the race hard. If Jason Osborne went on the attack full on at this stage, there is the potential that he could ride away because he is so strong at the moment. However, and I think it's a big however, what I think is likely to happen, he's going to wait because it's long.
Even Jason Osborne doesn't want to do a 42-kilometer time trial.
Some people do like time trials.
I know. And some people like very long time trials.
Yeah, I mean, I've ridden a 12-hour time. Well, I've ridden a few 12-hour
I couldn't think anything worse.
It was okay. It's okay. It's kind of you settle into your rhythm. You're down on the tri bars. You're out for the day on the bike. It's great.
Well, what is great is this pack rolling at 8.5 kilometres. Category 1, the final race field underway on the Sunday Race Club for 2025. Well, the final for 2025. It's the final on the first race for 2025. Could you imagine if this was the last race of 2025? Don't say that. That would be terrible.
12 months to go, 360 something days.
We've got 51 more races to go.
Or 102, depending on whether you include Both men's and women's are separate
Well, I was
races.
at race days.
Race days, definitely. Plus, of course, watch out because we've got the World Championships again. That's going to be coming up on My Wish, My Wish, the UCI partner for 2024, 25, and 26 so far. Don't forget, of course, that there's lots of great racing on My Wish, whatever race category you're in. We'd love you to come and join us on the My Wish Sunday Race Club, whatever ability you are. 6 race categories, lots of different opportunities to race on the Sunday Race Club in terms of where you sit in the standings, where you are, what power you put down, what type of riding. More variation in the race routes. So when the Sunday Race Club first started out, there was a preponderance of climbs and long climbs towards the end. As the platform has developed, as we've got more and more riders, that's changed, and we have more and more races of different types. Now, in the early days, we did have pancake flat racing. Don't get me wrong. But quite often when at the final you see us up a big climb, we're going to have a real mix each and every month in the Sunday Race Club. That's going to give lots of different opportunities to lots of different types of riders to stretch their legs out, to test their abilities, to maybe take away some of the amazing prizes, whether that's in the segments or whether that is out on the road on an overall sprint, overall climbing, or the race finish.
Well, this sprint competition is hotting up throughout all of the categories, but in category 4 at the moment at the 22.3 kilometre marker on the aquarium climb is Buama. We can see him on our screen at the moment, and the work going in to be part and parcel of this group. This is category 4. It's the third race field underway today. Resplendent in that My Whoosh jersey. He's just in the group. It's a big group of category 4 riders here, stretched back down the road, and interesting to see. You can see on the bottom left hand corner of the screen, it's looking like the race pretty much split in half, with a large group of riders just up the road and then a group of riders coming round the bend here.
And these riders just coming around on the open section of race routes. The aquarium climb, by definition, does what it says on the tin. You climb into and underneath the aquarium, you're underwater, and then you go out the other side, and as it opens up in to the fresh air, that's when you're reaching the summit. A little bit more open, the roller coaster climbs that take us in towards the aquarium climb. At the moment, category 2 at 14.3 kilometers past the Abu Dhabi Bridge Sprint, the second of our segments, just on this big bridge here, on this little drag. It's 1.2. It's a big bridge. It's a small drag, and it is an elite group of riders who are stretching this out. If you look at the left-hand side of your screen, no longer is this one group of riders across the road, akin to a Grand Tour bunch. This is when the pressure is on. The gaps are opening, and there is a big split in the middle of this
and
group.
I tell you
Danger
something,
time is here.
it's the Polish riders who have been pushing this. Mendakowicz has been in here. Trojanowski's been in here. David Nitko is in here as well. The push is on from Poland, and I tell you what, they are doing some serious damage to this category 2 race field. Look at the splits. I think this is going to be splitting again, and it's gone from 1 group to 2, 2 groups to 3, 3 groups to 4, 4 groups to 5. It is absolutely hammering down the power out there. The watts are dropping everywhere.
They are, and that's happening in the category 1 because we're coming in towards the sprint, and through the sprint here, Jasper Paradins in the green skin suit. Will he be able to hang on to that as the rest of the group come through behind? The green skin suit is awarded to and worn by the rider who has the most points accumulated. Now, Emma, what a ride. I saw your face, and I'm guessing that is at the average watts through. 11.735 seconds at...
Oh, I'll just tell you, 1,273 watts, or 17.9 average watts per kilo. That was phenomenal from Jasper Paradians. What a sprint. That is a big target from the Abus esports rider. He's here for the sprint competition today, and he's showing everybody what he can do.
He is indeed. Now, each of our sprint competition segments are rewarded So the winner, the fastest time through each of the segments, gets prizes. The prizes vary depending on which category you are. So whether you're in category 1 right the way through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, the base 7, we're not on some kind of 6. I shouldn't keep counting, it's dangerous. So when you are in category 6, that's our standard category, you get the standard prize, and then it is elevated as we move through each category to category 1. So Paradine's going through that sprint, taking away.
I can just tell you, he's now won 2 sprints out of the 3 sprints, which tells me each sprint 250 AED. So he's already chalked up 500 AED, or he is indeed European, 130 euro as of Emma's exchange.
I was just doing some quick maths in my head, but I gave up because you told me the answer before I got to the end of my sums. Right, so Euro's really important if you are in the European Union. That's where you're spending your money. AED, of course, if you are lucky enough to go to the United Arab Emirates to spend them there. Maybe you're going to be heading over to the final. Now, Tatu Koisonen on his way down the course here in Category 2, riding strongly again here today. I always wave back. He waves at us. I keep waving back at the riders. One day there's going to be a highlight clip of how many times Matt waves in a show to people who can't see him. I don't care. But you know what? Because it's friendly and it's the right thing to do. Now, our riders in category 4 on to the climb. Look at the damage that's been done. This is a long string of riders, but the leading group, and it is still a group, are approaching the polka dot banner. This is for the first climb segment award. This is for the elite. Only 2 climbs in the climbs competition today. At the moment, Francis Pino, a man renowned for his sprinting, has sprinted up the climb and has taken away the fastest time, and that should hold now. I don't think anybody behind will come in faster up that climb, and that gives him the lead.
Well, it does give him the lead. 12 riders, I can confirm, in that leading group in category 4, and 1 just off the back. So those 12 riders doing a sterling job leading this race out. So Neville Ross, LaPierre, Cadiz in there. A Bello just 7 seconds back. You can see that group just coming around the corner. And the question is, will they come back, or are this group now well and truly away? Tom Walker in there as well. Skizowski in there too. These riders, I think Ares is in there as well. And really interesting to see how these riders now progress in category 4. They're going to drop down the other side of the aquarium climb, and they're very quickly going to come into the Leeward Desert climb. So if this group of riders really motor, they are going to see themselves clear up and over that second climb and out onto the 20-kilometer run from the top of the Leeward Desert climb to the checkered flag. I tell you what, category 3 are not far behind.
They're not. I was just taking a little bit of a note of the way and the shape of this group. I don't think we've seen that final kick. We're just starting to see a wind up here from Kirsnowski at 6 watts per kilo. We're just starting to see what was a ball of riders, a mass of riders start to thin down. As it goes from being a ball down into a longer line, that's when the pressure comes on. You've got to kick over the top. That is the key part here. It's no good kicking early. You either got to kick at the start of the climb, gap people, and then hold a tempo, or even better, kick at the top and over the top, because that's when you're going to finally break people. If you kick at the start and the end, even better. But sitting at one pace, the problem is that once riders are in the draft, and the aquarium climb is enough of a drag that you can, and it's being ridden fast enough to get draft. And I think that is key, particularly as we move up through the categories into categories 3, 2, and 1. The speed that the riders are traveling at means there is still draft to be had, and that makes a big difference. So you've got to see a kick more in those categories to break the riders.
Well, for me, the earlier climb before the aquarium climb has done the damage to this category 2 pack, and there's around 10 riders in that leading group, which is really interesting because they haven't yet got to the first categorized climb, and the course already has done the damage because of the nature and style of the racing. And I imagine the fact that when they got the start sheets through, 59 riders in the category, the riders went, how are we going to manage this? What are we going to do? And what tactics are we going to execute today?
And you can see the tactics playing up playing out on your screens. Lead group category 2, left-hand side of your screen. Lead group in category 3, right-hand side of your screen. We're coming up towards the top
Yeah.
section of the climb. They're pushing on to try and break that group up. In category 1, the leaders are still dropping riders off the back of the group. And you can see at the moment, Michael Knudsen, the rider that we're in with, as we switch across to Michael Kaminsky, the two Michaels in the leading pack here. Puckett in here, Jones, Osborne, Knudsen, Panitz, Andreasen, Tugel still holding in, Jurek in here as well. A real who's who of esports riding. Thrall is in here at the moment. They need to do something about him. That's a man you don't want to take to the finish, that's for sure.
There's more than 15 riders in that group, and Kaminsky is one of them, part and parcel of the pack. And it's interesting because the pace is up, the pace is off, the pace is up, the pace is off. They're 16 kilometres into the race now, 22 minutes coming up for 23 minutes under their wheels. And Kaminsky, Andreas, and Nair, Millerstick all here together. The green skin suit is in the pack. That's the sprint leader in the category 1 race. They have just caught one of the category 2 riders. That's the black shorts and the green jersey. It's Ika Morel, actually. But Bird, Andreasen, Knudsen, Osborne, Jones, Pucker, all in the mix. So is Panitza and Turek. So it's a big race field in category 1 at the 16.5 kilometre mark.
And just seeing a kick on the front. Is that Milostic? I'm seeing Linda Milostic just start winding it up on the downhill section here on the front. Just wanting to break this up a little bit. Just going to get a double check back. It is. It's Milostic with Jacobs who goes onto his wheel here. Just not wanting to let this ease off too much. I don't think they want to let it ease back. The problem when you let the pace off, it encourages people to attack. They think, right, now's the time to get a gap. Keep the pace hard. Keep it fast. It reduces the chances of people going clear. We're at 17K. Remember, we've got to get to 22K before these riders hit climb number 1, the Aquarium climb, which tops out at 25.3 kilometers after having gained 94 meters of vertical ascent.
Well, Pim van Diemen is in here as well as Thomas Thrall. It is a big, big group. 1 or 2 riders from the Category 1 race field have been dropped. And it started at 32, the number on the start line, dropping back into the Category 2 race. Now, this has been so active. They are not at the Aquarium climb yet, but they are very closely on the way. But every single climb along the way to this point, this racefield have used to attack and to whittle down this group. David Nitko been part and parcel of those attacks, and he's part and parcel of the pace pushing on at the moment on the front of the group, because Trojan Alski, Graves, Nitko, Shuren, Buster, Quinston and Winfield are all motoring at the head of the Category 2 race.
And you got Mendakowicz in here. You got Winfield. Mendakowicz, for me, a very dangerous person to have with you at this point. So is Trojanski. They are riders who could really rip this up later on in the race. Will we see a pure climber come to the fore? We just see Mr. X100 now starting to wind this up. What are we going to see, I think, from Mr. X100 here? Setting the pace down early. He will want to minimize those sharp, sudden accelerations. He wants this to be hard from the base of the climb to the summit of the climb, and he's doing that in style, setting out what he wants to happen here, and the pace he's putting in early is distancing riders at the back. They're having to respond here, and we're seeing 7-8 watts per kilo just to get onto his wheel.
Yeah, we are indeed, and the work being done here really strong.
This is the first part of the climb. This is the climb, the ascent in, the entrance to the case, into the aquarium itself. A little bit further around this left-hand turn, Angus Bengston out of the saddle in person on the left of your screen. Right-hand side of your screen, you can see he's right up in this leading group of riders. Category 2 leaders have picked up a Category 3 rider on the way. You can see the blue jersey nestled in amongst the greens, just taking the advantage. 35 kilometers an hour. That's over 20 miles an hour if you work in Imperial.
Uphill.
That is uphill. That's why it's so important to be in a group. Now, back with Category 1, Said Safrazedi on the move. He's gone to the front there on this descent, and he's opened up a little bit of a gap. Osborne is responding, and this is a danger moment. Alarm time going off. The sirens are sounding in the rears. The lights are flashing, and I tell you something, This is dangerous. Osborne chasing down Safrazadi, and you would, because Syed Safrazadi, he is a man on form. He's riding
He is
well.
riding really
You
well.
cannot give that man a meter. At the moment, Osborne is having to do the work. And if you want to wear out Jason Osborne, make him chase everything.
That is a great strategy. And I'll tell you something, if these riders just continuing taking it in turns to go down the road and leaving it to Osborne to close the gap, that would be one way to potentially overturn an Osborne win. But Safrazadi on our screens at the moment, the look of concentration on his face and the cadence really strong, continuing to lift those legs, continue to lift that cadence as he goes back into the top front of the pack. Jones and Knudsen, Birdview, Yassin, Plantero are all in there. Panizza is in there as well. Safrazadi now sitting comfortably back in the group. They're coming up to they are indeed at the 20-kilometre mark. They've got 30 and a half kilometres to go. It's still a big pack of Category 1 races, and they're sweeping up the back of the Category 2 race field.
And if the Category 2 riders play this smart, they're going to dive in, they're going to jump on board, make the most of having a drafter, rider to draft, or having that drafter sit in and make the most of that for as long as possible. Much easier to do on the flat where you don't get that extra power to weight ratio, that better power to weight, the better power, the better climbing of Category 1 taking its toll. More draft effect on the faster sections. Of course, we're doing 40 kilometers an hour, 25 miles an hour. This is quick. And at the moment, that pace is not enough to string this group out. This is still a big bunch.
Yeah.
There's plenty of draft to be had. You've got the time to recover. We're on a 2% rise. You can just see as we come off this bridge, it kicks up. A little bit of a foretaste of what's to come when we hit the aquarium climb, and look at the power here. Mendakowicz at the moment kicking at 6 watts per kilo, being answered though by SS, the ever aggressive, the ever irrepressible SS on the chase, chasing Mendakowicz. Betty, Ospina, Nico, Trojanski, Graves moving up behind 2 seconds. The gap though. They've opened it up. Can they make this count? They're not far. They've got a last third of this climb to go. Can SS and Mendakowicz make the rest suffer?
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? The rest of the pack look as though they are bobbing along behind under the water at a steady pace, and they were indeed. I just saw some very conservative pace in the pack behind. They now start to see to be picking up a little bit here, and we start to see 7.5 watts per kilo coming on, but it's on off the pace on the pack. They're not bothered and not worried about those 2 riders up ahead. There's still a significant amount of climbing here, and the main climb, the Leeward Desert climb, that's the steeper one. It's shorter and it's steeper, and I don't think this group are panicking about those 2 riders ahead. In fact, Ospina and Betty. That Betty's the rider now trying to close the gap. Tatu Coinston, Phil Graves, Marsancho, Shanowski, all trying to stay at the fore of the climb. This is about managing the effort, but also staying in contention with the group that is forming ahead. And now it's 3 riders because Betty has joined SS and Mendakowicz.
Wow, what a group of riders. Betty SS Mendakowicz, they would be a group of riders that you would think, yeah, these guys got a chance if they can go clear, but they need a bigger gap. They're not far off the summit. They're going to go in and let's see who takes away the fastest time up the climb, because this group came in pretty much together. It was only Mr. X100 who was off the front as they came in. However, fastest time could be Betty's SS or Mendakowicz. They're all pushing as they come up towards the top of the climb. They're on the right-hand side of your screen, left-hand side of your screen at 22.1k. 100 meters already into the climb are Category 1. So as Category 1 enter the base of the climb, Category 2 coming up to the top. They come through and out of the tunnels. There's a slight descent coming down and in, but here comes the polka dot banner. This is for the run to the sprint line for the finish of the first climb segment. Who's going to take the fastest time through that segment? Looks like it's Mendakowicz who's going to be taking that away, subject to a rider behind. And remember, these are live results. So at the moment, as we speak to you, Mendakowicz taking away that prize.
He is indeed. So Mendakowicz, Maciej Mendakowicz stays at the top. 5 minutes, 30 seconds, the fastest time in Category 2. He puts on that polka dot skin suit and takes the points in that climbing competition. He also takes away the prize money for the first climbing segment today.
And in category two, that's just only a little bit less, in fact, than category one, still a substantial sum to be taken off away from the Sunday Race Club. So all of our categories over the top of the aquarium climb, with the exception of category one, who are rapidly ascending the hillside in this subterranean sub-aqua world, just threading the way in between the coral reefs underneath
Wow.
the wildlife. And at the moment, look at the speed. We're doing
Paradeans is
42k an hour.
24 seconds back, and take a look at Bruce Bird and the grimace on his face at the moment as
Come
he's
on, Bruce.
trying to dig in and stay here. Tom Thrall 3 seconds behind him. This is a pace on the front of this climb. It's like the touch paper has been lit, and category one, boom, is alight. And away, Panizza, Andreasen, Bird, all these three riders together, but they are now getting dropped because 5-6 seconds up the road is the head of the race.
So former world champion Bjorn Andreasen in this chasing group. He has got to come back, and they've dropped Thrall as well. This means that they've got rid of one of the big sprinters in the group, which they're going to be happy about. The downside is up the front, the group are going away, and they are shedding. Another rider has gone. Daniel Turek, I think, has been shed from the group. So has David Dunn. This is a real key moment. You've got to keep on pushing. There are 10 prizes at stake individually in terms of the overall, but we have segment prizes in the sprint. We've got segment prizes on the climb. Look at the face of Riccardo Panizza. Panizza from Italy continues to kick here. The Venga boys needs to harness his inner dance moves now to dance his way on those pedals up the climb. He cannot let this gap get any bigger. This is really critical. The leading riders, though, Pucker, Fink, Safrazadi, Osborne, Jones in here. Bujas is in the mix. So is Knudsen, Kaminsky, and Tugels. They are your leading riders. They are the riders on the climb coming into the last steep section. Now who's going to kick? Osborne has gone hard on the front. Is he going to be able to take this out? Fink is coming. This is all about making sure that you are in the right place. You want to be in the leading group. You do not want to let that gap go. At the moment, look at the red chevrons. They are wall to wall.
This is where you dig. This is where you dig deep, because there are 600 metres to go left on the climb, and Ollie Jones, we're digging into the pain cave with him at the moment as he's matching Vujasin and Osborne, Michael Vink and Safrazadi. Hayden Pucker needs to dig hard now if he wants to go with the group, because Pucker is at 2 seconds. Pucker needs to work. He needs to close the gap down as Ollie Jones continues on the front of the pack. Vujasin, Osborne, Vink, Safrazadi. Where is Pucker? Is he with them? Is he not? Kaminsky comes over the top, but Kaminsky's in trouble as well. This group is now really starting to split. Leonard Tugels, Michael Knudsen, Johan Noren, they are all in the back group as the 4 riders on the front start to pull away.
So the leading riders coming up to selection point number 1 in terms of the overall. This is going to be key. This is going to be critical. Vujasin kicks. They want to take away the prize for the segment. Vujasin's going hard here. Ollie Jones and Osborne are with him, so is Fink. This is a massive kick. Who's going to take that? It's going to be pretty dependent on who came through, in which position into that climb as Pucker comes through. 6 seconds is the gap from Pucker to Jones. He needs to push. Tugels needs to. Kaminsky, Safrazadi, they need to close the gap, and they need to do it now.
Well, they do indeed, because Ollie Jones comes through in second place to Lionel Vujasin. Teammates on the top. Indeed, Vujasin setting the fastest time up the climb, 4 minutes 47 seconds, 0.4 of a second faster than teammate Ollie Jones. Jason Osborne, the world champion from the Boss Moves only squad, in third place. Michael Vink, Mikhail Kaminsky, Leonard Tugel, Said Safrazadi and Hayden Pucker, the top 8. Michael Knudsen in 9, Johan Noren in 10, Daniel Turek and Stefan van Elst are also over the climb now, as well as the chase group. This is all about whether they can get back on. What damage has been done? Can they close it down on the descent before the Leeward Desert climb, or has the damage been done on the aquarium climb? And is this it?
Ooh, That's a good question.
Always like a good question.
That's a good. Or is this it? Is this the selection? It's been made. Will they close back down again? I think one of the things is because we're talking about the summit of that climb coming almost exactly at half race distance. You know, that it's 25.3 of 50.5. You only need another 100 meters on the race route. You need to be exactly halfway. It's such a critical moment. The time gaps are going to be key. Now, 6 groups of riders set out from our race start, 6 waves of riders away. We currently have the riders spread across the course. You can see at the moment's categories 1 to 4 on your screens. Jason Osborne, the world champion in the lead group in category 1 at the moment. And in category 2, it is Mendakowicz. In category 3, well, the category 3 leaders are working their way down the race route, and they've got a big group of riders. Category 4 at the moment looks like Morgan just leading that out. He's closing in on category 5 and 6. He's just gone past Terran and Skierski in the categories behind. But at the moment, let's dive in with category 3. This is the leading group of category 3. They're working their way up towards the very front of the race, but this is still a big pack here.
It is, and they are over and through the Liwa Desert Sprint now, on their way to the Bahrain Sprint, and that comes in the final 9 kilometres of the race, and that's where they are starting to work their way towards. But it's a big group still in category 3, and we said it was going to be category 3, 53 riders on the start sheets, and I think this is going to be a tight race, but it is working out to be. And Mark Gates is in there, right in that leading group at 36.2. At 39 kilometres, it's the head of the category 4 race. And Skierski, Morgan, Walter, Matteo Pino, Alex West, Juan Lopeira, all in there in that group. These races are looking really interesting as we're getting towards the last 10 kilometres. Now, at 28.6 kilometres, they're on the descent of the Aquarium climb. They're about to head into that Liwa Desert climb, and this is the Category 1 race. And it's Jones, Vujasin, Osborne, and Vink. 4 riders clear at the moment at the front. Safrazadi has not been able to go with them. The gap is at 5 seconds. Back to him. Hayden Pucker, I think, also with Safrazadi. So it's looking like there is a chase group. And while that chase group may start to be closing it down, Tugels, Pucker, Safrazadi, that is one chase group.
It is at 3 seconds and working hard. The problem you have, I think, in the leading group is that when you've got Jason Osborne, nobody wants to work with him because he is so strong. This chasing group have got one mission: pull back the leaders. They don't need to worry about politics. They don't need any of the associated stuff that goes with should you work, should you not. They need to get on the wheels. They're going to hit the climb. This is climb number 2, the decisive climb in terms of the King of the Mountains overall competition. Remember, this will be key for that, but it's also key for the overall. The catches maybe go on the climb.
Well, we do indeed, and it's looking to me like 8 riders, I think, now in the leading group in Category 1. And it's at 16 seconds now to the chase group.
And that was Group 3. It's now Group 2. There's Lionel Vujasin, the man who has the polka dot skin suit as the leader of the competition, goes on to the climb. So going to be key. What happens here? Remember, these points are going to be allocated out. There are prizes for each individual segment, whether that's a sprint or a climb. This is the second of our climbs. This will be critical for the overall because the winner of the overall climb competition and the winner of the overall sprint competition, they have prizes as well. So Vujasin at the moment tapping away a rhythm out of the saddle. Pucker, Kaminsky, Tugels, Jones, Fink and Osborne are here. This climb tops out at 30.5. Now, the Liwa Desert climb has 2 different finishing lines dependent on which segment we're using. Now, this is the newer segment because this goes and uses the first part of the Liwa Desert climb only. It does not include the roundabout and up onto the top. This is going to be really key. This is one of those segments. Normally, it's finished further up. This will be critical. We're going to come round the right-hand bend and we finish. It's shorter than it has been in the past. It's only 1K long. really key.
Punchy.
Where is it going to be? It's almost a sprint on Vujasin at the moment. Coming into this towards the back of the group and finishing at the front will be key. Kaminsky's challenging though, so is Osborne. They don't want to let this gap go. Little kick for the line there. You can see the riders sit up. Now, had this been a non-prize money segment, you would have seen the riders just tap through there. That last sprint, that last kick, testing the legs. Here we go. Kaminsky takes a segment.
Well, he does indeed. And Kaminsky takes the segment 1 minute 42, just ahead of Lionel Vujasin. I say that, but I on my screen have Leonard Tugels. There he is. He just pops up because it is live. So 0.9 of a second, Tugels really pushed onto that group and through that climb. Vujasin in 3, Pucker in 4, Safra Zaidi in 5. Then it is Havo from category 2 before, should I say, Osborne and Vink. But where is the polka dot skin suit going?
Well, this is key for me. Vujasin was holding it as he came in. He had got maximum points on climb number 1. When he came through with the fastest times, that was great. But you're seeing riders starting to take points away. They haven't done enough to touch him, though, at the moment. He's holding that skin suit at the moment. But can a rider behind do something about this? Can they change that? It's live. It's real racing. This is going to be super close.
Talk about it's live and it's real racing. Stefan van Els has just set a faster time up the Leeward Desert climb than Mikhail Kaminsky and taken the spot away.
So he's taken away the top spot, but that's more riders coming into the top spot. That's Lionel Vujasin dropping down through those points at the moment in the climb competition. I think we should maybe wait and see where that polka dot jersey ends up at the end of the day. So that means Vujasin's dropped down into 4th place, only scoring 2 points on that second climb. He needs the riders who are coming in above not to be challenging him in the overall. Now, let's drop across from Category 1, the last riders to leave the pen, into our Category 6 riders because they were the first riders to leave. Christoph Laszlo, one of the very fast riders when it comes to a sprint at the moment, holding the sprint jersey. He is at 45k, and that means that he has done enough to take away the points. Subject to verification, subject to confirmation, it looks like Laszlo taking away the sprint win overall. Behind, you've got Quadrelli chasing. He's at 30 seconds. Botero and the big chasing pack. You ready for this? 4 minutes down.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? And the work being done here and the focus on the sprints from Christoph Labno, really putting him in the mix and at the front of that Category 6 race. Jonathan Cridland, I'll tell you something, is doing a sterling job in the sprints on Category 5. He is currently leading that competition. In fact, he's taken Sprint 1, Sprint 2 and Sprint 3. In Category 5. In Category 4, Francis Pino is trying desperately to be at the forefront of that competition, but Brustolin has just gone through on sprint number 3 ahead. So in Category 4, Alalusa took sprint 1, Pino took sprint 2, and Brustolin took sprint 3. So it's all about your consistency as to where that sprint competition is going in Category 4.
And in Category 2, we're in with the leading group. Not only have you got to be right up in this leading group, I think, to be scoring big points, but you've got to be in here for the overall as well. We are currently at 35.8k. This is that roller coaster run in towards that Bahrain sprint, the final sprint, where we're seeing all of these sprint competitions being decided by how good you can ride, how strong you are racing mid-race, as well as in terms of the overall. It's critical for your points in the sprints in the climbs competition. Now we're in with 2 of the UAE clan team at the moment. We've got SS on the left-hand side of your screen. He's at 36.1k in our lead group. Mr. X100 currently chasing. He is currently sitting at 35.4 kilometers. So we're looking at the moment about 800 meters behind his teammate SS, holding station with that leading group. There are riders in between, but this is going to be really, really key, making sure that you keep pushing wherever you are in this race because of the prizes. Of course, top 10 riders in each of our race categories. Previously, it was 5. Now it is 10 riders in each race category going to be in the prize money.
Well, Safrazadi and Vink are the two riders. I'm just taking a little look here. And Vink and Safrazadi, the two riders who have pushed on in this Category 1 competition and over the top of the Liwa Desert Climb. And they've continued to push, and that's the interesting thing because the gap now back at 12 seconds. Jones, Tugels, Vu, Yassin. It was a group of 8 riders, let's remember, at the head of the Category 1 race. 2 riders riding clear, Michael Vink and Sai Safrazadi.
And Jason Osborne has tumbled his way backwards through the race field. Osborne at the moment has just been passed by Panizza, Bird, Thrall, Andreas and Havo. So clearly issues, I think, for Osborne today. May well be just not feeling it. We've got to remember, I mean, there's lots of riders who don't just... who can't, you can't race strongly all the way, and it could well be. I mean, we've seen it a lot. There's a lot of people getting sick at the moment. There's a lot of people with illness.
There are a lot of illnesses around,
particularly at the top end of the sport, where riders are really on the brittle edge.
Well, also, there's a lot of training blocks being done.
Indeed. Indeed, there are indeed a lot of training blocks. So there's a lot of people in training and racing. There's a lot of people, though, where, particularly in the northern hemisphere, where the temperature drops, where you are spending more time with the heating on, maybe keeping the doors closed, less ventilation. That sort of, it can quite often be a breeding going. You only need to get a cough, a cold, a sniffle. says Matt on one side of the studio, just wondering whether Emma's brought any of those bugs into the studio. I hope not.
Can I just say,
it's going to be really key to our performance, never mind the riders.
Well, a number of the Category 3 riders now through that Bahrain sprint and into the last 8 kilometres of racing. Currently taking the lead on the Bahrain sprint is Nathan Guerra, kicking out 12.5 watts per kilo on that sprint and currently sitting in first place in Category 3.
Good riding by Guerra after that individual kick off the front early on. Now continuing to push. You can see another of our Category 3 riders, Marvin Angarita, on the left-hand side of your screen, currently sitting in with the Category 1 chasers here. Left-hand side is the chasing group in Category 1. Sorry, the lead group in Category 1.
Right-hand side is the chasing group.
Right-hand side is the chasing group, my apologies. And Angarita staying with the leaders here by tucking in and making the most of the draft on the way over here. It's a little bit of a rise, and you can see having to kick, having to push. Marvin Angarita, I mean, we know he's a talented rider. He rode at the World Championships, if I remember correctly.
He pilots a tandem, a Colombian tandem in the men's B category at the paracycling.
And a rider who absolutely class. You can see he said, right, this is as long as I'm staying with you. Let's wait for the next group to come. When they go, I'm going to jump on. So it takes a little bit of a rest as those leaders now dispatch him and continue to push. Right-hand side of your screen, Category 2 on the move. Really kicking down strongly here. Really interesting to see as they approach the 39-kilometre marker that Trojanowski here with Nico, with Graves and Coinston. This group is still working well.
Well, we've got 8 riders in Category 2 in our sights on the screen in front of us, but we've got 6 riders now really starting to pull away. Trojanowski, Graves, Mendakowicz in the mix. Coinston is there, so is Buster. We've got Diduch and Oya from Category 3. They've been caught and are being passed. Cam Winfield and Mikkel Schuren doing the work to try and close back down to that leading 6 on this slight rise. They need to get back on and make it a group of 8. SS is the rider being distanced at the moment, but we know he can hold a pace and he can work to stay. That's going to be his task now. But Schuren and Winfield are not on the group yet.
Will they make it? We will see. Now, back to the very front of the race. Laszlo, Christoph Laszlo, 49.9k. He's got about 600 meters to go. Laszlo, one of our regular riders. He's looking good at the moment for the race win. He's already got that green skin suit. He's going to add to his stays in the tunnels at the moment. He's going to go round the right hand bend, and Laszlo will make his way through the finishing line. It's the very first Sunday Race Club of 2025. He's got the emotes going. If you want to know how to do that, get a masterclass on the coaching with Emma. Emma's going to be coaching on Monday at 12 o'clock GMT. You can jump on that. I'm sure she's explains to everybody how to do the emotes each and every session, pretty much. One of the key ways of communicating here on the platform. But this is a run for the line.
It is indeed, and we're in with Christoph Labno on our screen. He's on the avatar. He sees the UCI banner. He goes under the banner to take the win in Category 6 today. The first time Category 6 has raced on the Sunday Race Club, and he takes the win.
A win and the green skin suit for Christoph Laszlo ahead of Quadrelli. Enrico Quadrelli into the tunnels. Both the Quadrelli brothers are racing here on the Sunday Race Club. Good to see them back. They were instrumental in a lot of the action on the $1 million My Woosh Challenge in 2023.
Gosh.
That's how it make yourself feel old. We were talking about that some time ago. But I tell you what, it's well worth a watch back to see the racing. You can do that on the My Woosh YouTube channel.
As Quadrelli comes under the banner for second place today in Category 6. The race is on behind, and Cameron Dadson looks like he could possibly take third place in that competition. But that race is not over yet.
Now you can just see Category 5 at 48.9k. They're in the tunnels here. Smith and Dadson, Cridland, Francis.
I tell you, it's a story of...
a pleasure. It's a big group, this.
It's a story of micro rests. I'm looking at the watts per kilo at the moment, and I'm like, we're on a descent. We've got 5k to go. I need as much rest as possible. Dadson, 1.8 watts per kilo there. Really, really interesting. And as the Category 5 riders at the 4 of the Category 5 race continue to drive, on the right-hand side of your screen, this is the chase group as well. In Category 4, they're mixed with Category 5 and Category 6. And those are the leaders in Category 4 behind.
So here we go, 49.4k. It's a run to the line required. Cridland has got the polka dot skin suit. He's got the green screen suit. He can see him on the left-hand side. This is brilliant. Loving this shot in. The man who has 2 of the skin suits available. Can he make it 3 out of 3? He's waiting for the kick. We've seen a push now come from Francis. Francis has kicked first here. He's gone down the left-hand side. He's being answered by Dadson. This is early. Cridland's starting to wind up here. He's not out of the saddle and full on sprinting. He's at 6 watts per kilo. We know they can go harder, but when do you choose to put in the afterburners? When do you put the match to the fuel? When do you make that move? Time to hit an emote. How has Francis got the energy to touch a remote button when they are so close to the line? 500 meters to go. Cridland shuts off the fuel. He shuts down. This is the attack answered, and now surely there's only time for one more sprint effort. 400 meters to go.
400 meters to go. It's Dadson, Cridland, Francis. Motmans is in there as well as Smithson and Pledger. Who is going to kick first? Where is it going to come from? Motmans is winding it up, but Cridland has gone. Cridland has gone at 14 watts per kilo. Motman goes at 12, but Cridland is already over the top. That's the banner. He's coming round the corner. Jonathan Cridland's on our screen. You can see the effort being put in here. Motmans tries to come, but Jonathan Cridland's going to take the win in Category 5 today. Mark Dadson, I think, is going to take second place. I'm just waiting for it to update on my screen. He does indeed. Masiak Skierskowski in Category 4 takes the run with Christoph Morgan. Alex West is coming. So is Arias. Can Morgan take the win? I think it's going to be Arias in Category 4. Uran Arayev taking the win in Category 4. Christopher Morgan taking second place. Maciek Skierskowski taking third. Alex West, Daniel Cadiz, Matteo Pino and Tom Walker. That is the top 7.
So that is your Category 4. Category 5, Cridland, Dadson, Motman, Smithson, Francis Pledger, Warren and Callangad. In category 6, it's Lasno, Quadrelli, Daz and Kutab being followed through there. The results updated as we speak as these riders make their way in through the finishing line. They're category 4, 5, and 6, category 3, 2, and 1. Still to make their way to the finish. We're just in with category 2 at the moment, and category 2 up 43.4k. Continuing to push here. Little bit of a kick there by David Nitko. 9 watts per kilo that he's just put down there. Just sprinting over the little bit of a rise and drop there. And interesting to see. This is an interesting kick out. He doesn't want to make this easy by any stretch of the imagination. Now, back in with category 3. And at the moment, it's Conrad Fenderich who's pushing on here at 48.4k. So it's Fenderich from Gates, from Tidham, Goodall, Wazes, the riders who are in there. That's not all by any stretch of the imagination. Ridley in this pack. He's moving up. You can see the category 4 also trying to keep with the category 3. That little kick there by category 3, you could see the instant response there, and they left the category 4 riders really scrambling in the wheels.
They have indeed, and it's becoming one big pack of riders as those category 3 riders and category 4 riders on the left-hand side of your screen mix with 1.5 kilometres to go. A little bit further back down the road, it's category 2, and David Nitko's on the front at the moment with Masit Mendakowicz and Mads Buster. They really are continuing to push, and the category 2 race has been absolutely electric. The work being done to break the groups and to continue to split it up, absolutely phenomenal efforts being put in by those riders, and the group really having been brought down. So Nitko, Graves, Trojanski and Co all at the front of the race. And it's Phil Graves just trying to close down that push. Coming towards the end of the race now is the category 3 race, and it's Conrad Fenderich and Daniel Tidholm who are at the front of the pack. It's mixed with category 4 riders, and those category 4 riders will be picking up the lower places in that race. The top 14 riders now through in category 4, so they're racing for 15th. In category 3, they are racing for the win, and it's Fenderich with indeed Daniel Tidholm, and Tidholm's gone early here. What can Fenderich do? Wozniak is there as well. Gadzari is in the mix as well. So Daniel Tidholm opening this up with a long run to the line. There's still 550 meters to go. Is he going to hold it? Is someone going to come from behind? Fenderich, Wozniak, Gadzari all working strongly.
So Burma in category 4 makes his way in and through the line. He goes over that just ahead of the chasing riders behind. The chasing group behind, well, they're being led by Daniel Tidholm, but look at the big kick that's coming now. Just seeing Ridley start to push, Gadzari starting to push. This is going to be really key. Who is going to get the timing right? Tidholm went so early, but Goodall is going to eclipse this. Goodall goes over the top in category 3 on qualifier 1 on the My Woo Sunday Race Club. David Goodall takes the win from Tidholm, from Gates, from Gadzari. That is so close behind. Goodall, Gates, Tidholm, Gadzari, Ridley, Wozniak, and Fenderich. They are the top 7 riders in category 3.
Well, I'll tell you something, you could have thrown a blanket over the top 5. 1.2 seconds separating first from 5th in category 3 today. We have our last 2 race fields out on the course. On the left-hand side of your screen, it's the 2 leaders, Michael Vink and Said Safrazadi. They're at 44.1 kilometres in the category 1 race. In the category 2 race at 46k, it's looking like it's Nitko, Graves and Buster. Koinstonen and Mendakowicz are the riders in the leading group. They're continuing to work their way through the other race fields on the road, but it is 6 riders with a 2-second gap back to Trojanowski.
And they've distanced Trojanowski, and that is a good move because he's such a strong sprinter and such a dangerous rider. The riders on the right-hand side of your screen, though, on a little bit of a turn here. You're seeing a little emote coming out from David Nitko. Take some turns. Let's keep moving here. Graves is within the gap. 1 second back to Buster and Koistonen to Mindakowicz Two riders with a little bit of gap. They're at 46.7k. They've got to get to 50.5. That's top right-hand side of your screen. Top left-hand side of your screen. The leader in Category 1 is Michael Vink. He's opened the gap on Saeed Safrasadi. They were together and the gap opened and there was nothing Safrasadi could do about it. He cannot respond. He cannot answer the power of Michael Vink, who is doing a Michael Vink. He's left it late for Michael Vink. Can we say Michael Vink any more times in one sentence? I don't know. We can try, because Michael Vink at the moment leading clear of Saeed Safrasadi. The gap that was opened has continued to open. It is continuing to be stretched out by the lone leader in Category 1. In Category 2, this is a big group of riders. This is going to be difficult to break. Trojanowski at the moment really pushing on here. Grace, Mendakowicz, Koisten and Buster all in the mix. Can they keep hold of the leader? They're at the front of Category 2 on the left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen, you can see at the moment Mr. X100 just making his way over the top of this climb, currently at 45.6 kilometres.
Yeah, he is indeed, and the work going in is huge. But Trojanski and Mendakowicz, Buster Graves, Constant and Nitko, the 6 riders leading the Category 2 race. Well, they are all indeed trying to work out the strategy for the finish, because there's 6 riders in the group and 1 top spot. Who's going to take it? They're going to have a run in very, very soon. Back in the Category 1 race, we saw Vink attack Safrasadi, the 2 riders at the front. We then had a chase group of 4, and it's looking like Jones is putting a push on here on the climb. Kaminsky's going with him. Tugels is trying. Vuyasin is nearly there. Now, that's interesting, because obviously Kaminsky, Vuyasin and Jones, all teammates on the Alpha Jaw squad. And it's interesting to see that it is indeed Jones just pushing on, putting Kaminsky and Vuyasin in a little bit of trouble. But Kaminsky on the wheels, Tugels is there, and I think Vuyasin is back in the mix at the moment. So Vink is clear of Safrasadi, 1 and 2. Then we have a 30-second gap to Jones, Kaminsky, Vuyasin and Tugels.
Do you know what? Michael Vink is absolutely back on fire. We've seen him in the past really lay it down. He's laying it down once again. What a ride by Vink. He has still distance to go, though. Remember, this is 50.5k. Saeed Safrasadi is an absolute battler. He will not give up. And if Michael Vink has misjudged this, and remember the competition, it used to be that we were seeing those decisive moves being made in the last few kilometres, that there was just such a big difference. Now the racing is so close. It's so brutal. I mean, we saw that kick before we covered 9k. We were climbing out of that dip. We went through and onto the aquarium climb. We saw it ripped apart there. We weren't even at half race distance when those brakes went. And it's true of all of our race categories. It's so much harder to win now.
Well, it's 400 metres separating first place from 6th place at the moment in that Category 1 race, as Michael Vink comes up onto the wheels of X100. He's chasing in Category 2, and this is who he's chasing, because this is the attacks that are now starting for the finish. And David Nitko, Marcin Trojanowski are attacking, but there's still, well, 750 metres to go.
So this is the kick by Nitko. It's a move. It's a long move. He's doing a net. Vladislav Ekimov, for those people old enough to remember, the Russian pursuit to world champion, multi-time world champions, long distance, long range attacks. Can he make it stick? Well, it's looking harder and harder. Mads Buster has a phenomenal sprint on him. He could well upset the apple cart here. Graves is in here. Not sure he's got the springer to jump the rest of the riders. Nitko still holding on the front here. This is the last 200 meters. They're going to see the banner. Nitko still holding. This is a phenomenal ride. When does the kick go? Graves has gone at 8.5 watts per kilo. Buster's gone at 12. This is the run for the line. Mads Buster. Buster takes it. He's busted them apart and takes the win in category 2.
Well, Mads Buster takes the win in category 2 with David Nitko, Maciej Mendakowicz, Phil Graves, Marsan Trojanowski, and Tatu Koinsinen in 6th place. So the top 6 riders, well, it was close, just 4 seconds in the end from 1st to 6th place in category 2. Well, Mikhail Shuran and James Krasnich, Jonas Bjarhead,